up this great country to you, Lord. May we always be a shining city on a hill, so long as we seek your face and humble ourselves, Lord. We give you this time. We pray for a spirit of competition, a spirit of humility, but most important, at the end of the day, a spirit of unity. Lord, we give you this night. In Jesus' name we pray, and all God's people said.
So as you remain standing, we're going to do something you've done since you were in grade school. We're going to recite 31 words together. That's all there are, 31 words. But you know, we've said it so long, some of us over 50 years, that you don't stop and think about what happened at Lexington and Concord, where men gave their lives for what we're enjoying today. Descendants of them are on the front lines today. Tens of thousands are out there defending our freedom today as our country stands for a beacon of freedom and democracy around the world. So remember those words and think about them as you're saying them with us together tonight. If we've got a flag in the room, perfect. If you're a military officer, a military enlisted, retired, President Bush 43 and the Defense Act of 1990 allowed us to render our military salute that we were taught to do when we were at boot camp. So I enjoin you tonight. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our country. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Gives me great pleasure now to introduce our moderator from the Floridian, Mr. Javier Manjarres. So give him a round of applause, please.
Mayor, thank you very much. I appreciate you mangling my name. It's Javier Manjarres. Well, it's all good. And I promised them I wouldn't mention sharks in New Smyrna Beach, but I didn't. Thank you again for showing up tonight. Appreciate it. Good evening. Welcome to the Brennan Center here in New Smyrna Beach, site of the first and only Republican congressional debate between the four members of the four candidates running in Florida CD7. So as you know, this is a very contentious race. Very important. Democrats see this Republican-leaning seat as a win for them. They see it as an opportunity to take back the House. Republicans are going to defend it. As you all know, and you may not know, Democrats believe that if they take over the House, they will impeach, or they look to impeach President Trump again for like the third time or fourth time. So it's important. Everyone's watching this. We may even have the big guy in the Oval Office watching as we speak. So leading into that, I want to say let's keep this respectful candidates. Let's keep this respectful of the people watching, people in the audience. We can be civil. I know politics is an emotional blood sport. Again, it's a blood sport. So we're going to address tonight all the issues that are important to you, or we'll try to. Even some of the issues that are taking up a lot of the limelight over the past year or so, we're going to address all that. Candidates are going to have the opportunity to make a case for why they are a better candidate to represent all of you. So I want to introduce, first of all, the candidates. But before that, let's do ground rules. So candidates agreed that questions are going to be asked. Each question, they have 1 minute to respond, 30-second rebuttal. And I expect a lot of rebuttals tonight. So first, I'd like to introduce businesswoman Sarah Ulrich. Congressman Corey Mills. Former Fox anchor Ryan Elijah. And veteran Michael Don Johnson. I like the white jacket. Don Johnson. Good. I had to, sorry. So we're going to get right into it. We've decided a bunch of questions. Again, the first line of question we want to ask is, again, no one's seen these questions before. No one's seen about myself and my team. Getting right into it. The 2022 presidential election was mired with...
Are we not doing opening statements?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Everyone has 2 minutes for opening statements and 2 minutes for closing statements. So, Ms. Ulrich, please.
I appreciate that. This may be the last chance I have to speak on a platform of this kind with this reach. I certainly hope not, but I don't want to waste this moment repeating the same campaign lines you've heard over and over. Families first. Support our troops, first responders, lower health care costs, stop illegal immigration, balance the budget, create energy independence, uphold the Constitution, and restore common sense. We all say we believe in these things. As you listen tonight, don't just hear what we say. Ask yourself whether we are telling you what you want to hear or whether we respect you enough to tell you the truth. What you really want to know is whether we can ask the right questions and see past the manipulation in Washington, whether we have the character to put your interest ahead of our own, whether we can lead, solve hard problems, and actually make a difference. Character and qualifications are what you should measure us by. I am a 7th-generation Floridian with a degree in finance and an MBA. I have extensive corporate experience, own a small business, hold state licenses and professional certifications. I am an author, breast cancer survivor, a mother, and a wife of 23 years. I have helped thousands of families buy a home. I've worked with thousands of companies around the world to help them succeed. I have spent decades negotiating, solving hard problems, and bringing people together to reach a common goal. That is how I will serve in Congress. I will work across the aisle on long-term solutions that serve the American people without sacrificing my principles. And I will work every day to bring integrity, accountability, and dignity back to Washington. Thank you.
Congressman Mills.
As a U.S. Army combat veteran, one of the things, I don't know if this mic's working or not, I'll try and see if we can't get Xavier to fix it. That's the, just like the media, they try to silence you.
At least I know it wasn't just me.
As a U.S. Army combat veteran, my service to this country didn't start whenever I got into office. It started as a young teenager, a kid who came from a broken home who understood what it was to work hard. I've continued to fight while I was in Congress, not only rescuing almost 400 Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan, Israel, and Haiti, but also being there during the hurricane responses whenever it mattered. I didn't run from the fight, I ran to the fight. It's why I lead the entire state of Florida out of 28 congressional districts and constituent service at over $107 million brought back to this district. It's why I have a 96% or higher voting record when it comes to conservative standards. And it's why I'm the only person who sits on this stage today who has been endorsed 3 times by President Donald J. Trump. I'm going to continue to fight for the American people. And that's not what the swamp wants, but I can tell you right now, I've never cared about what the swamp wants or the swamp needs. I care about what the American people need, what the people of Florida's 7th District needs. And I've proven that time and time again with my actions and with my voting record. Thank you.
Mr. Eisen.
First of all, Javier, thank you for hosting for Volusia County Rec. This is our second debate, by the way. We did hold one other one, but this is the second one tonight. Here's what I would say. My wife and I have lived in this district, and we've been married for 30 years. Thank you to Tasha for being here by my side. We've raised our boys here. Faith and family are the biggest things for us. I have had an opportunity to serve on boards where I manage budgets. I've also had an opportunity to coach Little League Baseball, to coach high school basketball. I have been invested in this community. I have spoken to thousands of voters over the last 3 months. They feel let down by government. They feel government is not listening to them. This is our chance to change that. I also was blessed to be 30 years in the media, the last 14 years at Fox here in Orlando. During that time, I was able to earn the trust not only of our viewers, but strong relationships with people that are leaders in this district. As a result of that, in the last month, before today, there have been 20 endorsements in this race. Every one of those has come to us, including Sheriff Lima and Sheriff Chitwood here in Volusia County. I can tell you this, having followed politics for years and years, that is unprecedented against an incumbent. And it sends a clear message to me. They believe, and I respect your service, Corey. I truly do, and I've told them that before I got in. But they have told me, You can probably rebut when you're done. They have told me that they have lost trust and confidence in our representative. That's why I'm in this race. And we talked about Democrats targeting this seat, which they have. They have done that for the past year. This is a +5 seat that we should win. I'm in that to make sure this doesn't happen. We have to make the right choice August 18th to make sure that doesn't happen, to make sure the person that wins this race wins in November.
Mr. Johnson?
Do you have a timer?
You guys are staying under the 2 minutes so far, so we're good.
All right, thank you. I'm a United States Army veteran, and one of the things that are very precious to us, we do not like stolen valor. We're going to show you tonight individuals, and we hope to get it out, the truth and not the myths. Someone on this stage has got it backwards. The truth is come out. I fought fraud, waste, and abuse all my life. You can go to my website. It's votemichaeldonjohnson.com or votemdj.com. You'll see my entire history of my career on that website. I dot the I's, cross the T's. I had top secret clearance in various agencies for 30-plus years. And when I speak, I had to speak using integrity, truthfulness, and the facts. I don't go around lying about people. One of the candidates on this stage has said that I spread lies in the last election. I spread no lies. I told the truth, the absolute truth, so help me God. We are out to save this country. And we don't need someone that's coming in here and said that I rescued people when all he did was give them a bus ride somewhere. Or rode a helicopter with a gentleman that I know personally that rode the helicopter in Haiti. We need the truth, folks, to be exposed, and hopefully we'll do it tonight. We will lose this seat if the current incumbent gets reelected, because there's a lot of Republicans in this district that I've knocked on thousands of doors too, just like with Elijah and Sarah over the past few months. And people want to change. A lot of people are angry at the Republican Party for standing up for people that are losers. Thank God some people are leaving Congress. We need a couple more to be thrown out or resign. So anyway, thank you for all for having us tonight. I'm a very passionate person. I'm retired after 36 years. And it's going to be a great night tonight. And you're going to hear some truths. You may have some lies, some others, but we're going to tell the truth on this end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So we're going to jump right in. First topic we're going to talk about is election integrity and President Donald Trump. So the 2020 presidential election was mired with claims of voter suppression, illegal alien voting, and questionable mail-in ballot practices. Question to all the candidates. Do you feel the 2020 presidential election was compromised and subsequently stolen away from Donald Trump? Start first.
I think that we should not have election machines. Oh, not again. We shouldn't have, thank you. We should not have election machines that are tied to the internet. I think that is a very serious issue. Our military will not purchase equipment if it cannot be disconnected from the internet. That being said, I think it is very dangerous to not have faith in our elections and the people voting in them. This is a beautiful thing about the United States of America, is that we can actually elect our leaders and make our voices heard. But if we lose the integrity of the election, we have lost the republic.
Mr. Mills?
Look, election integrity is one of the most valuable things we have. It's why I was the co-sponsor of the SAVE Act in 118th Congress. It's why I'm original co-sponsor of the Save America Act, which actually helps to protect election integrity. The one thing that my opponent and I can agree on is these Smartmatic machines and the rest, they can have backdoor algorithms. But rather than run away from the question, I'll tell you, do I think that there was elections that were stolen? Yes, I do in 2020. I have been attacked multiple times for it. I've been told I am a conspiracist, but I know for a fact that there is no way that Joe Biden got 81 million votes eating ice cream and sniffing children in the basement of his house.
Mr. Elijah.
So I would say this, and people ask me this a lot, and the problem is they're always trying to divide. You either answer it and they agree with you, or you don't and they don't. And I tell them this to start. Even one vote is too much. Any fraud in our election is too much. That's why election integrity is at the top of our list. And the Save America Act has got to be passed. They've done their job in the House. Representative Mills knows that. There's no fault from the House. It's the Senate that has to get that done. Because Florida has come a long way Since I was in Jacksonville in 2000, we went through that mess. Florida's done a good job even with mail-in ballots. I'm with Corey. I do not believe President Biden got more votes than Donald Trump in that race, and we need to continue to look back and make sure whatever happened in that race, and obviously COVID changed a lot, and it allowed them to put mechanisms in place that were not tested and change things. So without a doubt, here's what I would say. We have him in office now as a result of that.
Johnson?
Yes, I believe that the election was compromised and stolen from President Donald Trump. So what we did, I joined a group called Grassroots for America, another group called Defend Florida, and we put together teams and went up to Tallahassee to do something about it. We met with the staff on both sides, the House and the Senate up in Tallahassee, to rewrite the laws. And because of spending time with these people up there in the back rooms before the politicians got involved with it, we wrote a new law, election integrity law, and from that law, we were able to remove 1.3 million inactive voters off the rolls. So we did something about it, folks, and I think people in this room have been up there with us with these groups, by the way. They're great groups. We did something about it. We went up to Tallahassee, we raised hell, we went back 3 or 4 years in a row, to solve the issue that we have. Thank you. I saw the flag.
Next question, we're going to start with Corey Mills, and then with Mr. Elijah, and then we'll come back to Ms. Ulrich. Staying on the same topic. So how do you, this could be a yes or no answer. How do you, can you hear me? Yeah, how about that? Thank you very much. Same topic. Are you concerned that the 2026 election could have the same result, that there could be some voter fraud? Hello? How about that? I'll just talk a lot louder. How's yours? Hello? Just keep switching back. How's that? So again, let me ask the question. That's better, right? Do you feel that in the 2026 election we could see the same voter fraud? Is that a concern of yours?
Of course it's a concern. We haven't actually done what we need to do, which is getting the SAVE Act passed in the 118th, or even having the Senate pass what I co-sponsored, which is Save America Act. Election integrity is the most important thing. We can talk economics, we can talk about affordability, but what you're able to do with your vote is what matters most. Not another dollar sign in your bank account, your voice. And that's what they're trying to take. And that's why the Democrats have continued to push for open borders, to make sure that illegals can get in here, they can register, they can get CDL license, they can endanger Americans, they can cause angel families, and they can try and vote in our elections to actually take over our republic. That's what we have to fight against, and that's what I've fought against for the last 2 terms that I've been in Congress, and that's why President Trump has continued to support and endorse me.
So, Elijah?
So I guess it depends what state you ask. Because as a high school basketball coach, I can tell you the officiating mattered. It mattered how the game was officiated in different states. In Florida, I feel good about where things are. California? No, I don't have any confidence in that. Ask Pratt how that went. You've got certain situations where if there are different rules, and that's why the Save America Act would put one common rule in place, and that is to show an ID, among the many things it has to do. We have got states, there's a reason they don't want that passed. And I talk about this at a lot of our events. The reason is they know that's where they get their votes from. Oregon, California, they're going to change the results if they are no longer allowed to have somebody vote without an ID. So absolutely, I will have faith in certain states, but until all states play by that same rule, until they require an ID, no, I don't have confidence in those.
Johnson?
I worry about this coming election also, but we are thankful that we had activists in this county and in Seminole County that got 2 SOEs elected. I'm very proud of who we got elected in Seminole County, Amy. But the states that are causing us grief are 5 states mainly. And I think everybody in this audience knows who they are and what cities they were in those states that actually turned elections in those areas. But we have to do better with getting new election laws. And I tell you, the SAVE Act was actually manipulated to where if it doesn't really pass, we don't lose nothing, because now they're trying to get money to the states to bribe them. Did you guys know that? That's what's in the new version of the act. So it needs to be rewritten. It doesn't pass this time. We're going to rewrite it and do it right, and stop the bad mailing list and bad voting list. Thank you.
I agree with much of what was said. I read the act just the other day, and it is just an atrocious document that has been combed over by this party and that party. If we do not pass it, though, our elections are up for suspicion. And the fact that we can't pass it shows what divisions we have. We own the House, we own the Senate, we own the judiciary, we own the executive office, and the fact that we can't pass this, something that most Americans agree on, talks about the toxic culture that we have happening in D.C. right now. If we don't unite as a party, we are going to have bigger problems.
Perfect segue to my next question, the Save America Act. So if it doesn't pass the Senate, would you support or co-sponsor, if you're elected to the House, legislation that would appease both Republicans and Democrats, make it more palatable for both members or both sides, make it more palatable for both sides of the aisle?
It should pass as it is now. I mean, our job at the end of the day, and one of their issues, they say it's too hard to get some of these documents. As members of Congress, you have to figure out a way to get it passed, but it's got to still have the teeth in it that's there. So I think we need to pass the form that it is now. Certainly, that bill would be better than no bill at all. If we could at least require IDs, yes, we can go with that. This is the bill, I believe, that's a stronger bill, but if you at least had to take one proponent out of that and still had to where you had to show an ID, it would be an improvement.
Mr. Johnson?
I think that the Republicans need to unite and put the bills together themselves. We don't need the Democrats to help us out in that area, because the biggest thing on that bill was the voter ID and being a U.S. citizen. And I don't think we need to compromise anybody on those two stands. So this bill that's right there in front of the Senate now isn't really a great bill. It could be done better. So when I get elected, we are going to make it stronger and make it better. And I think we could get it passed with the number of Republicans that are going to actually win races this year.
There is no doubt it could be written better, more clearly. That goes for most of the legislation passed now. And like I said earlier, yes, I will work across the aisle. We need solutions that make the American people happy, that work in the long term. And collaboration is not capitulation. And we are not working as a country. We're going to destroy ourselves first before anybody else can. But this is a very important piece of legislation. And if we could just make it to where you have to show an ID at all, that would be an improvement. The way it is now, it's not getting shoved through. It's not working. We have to change something if we want it.
Look, I've sat in those discussions. I've had those meetings. We've tried to work across the aisle. The reality is Democrats don't want us to be able to secure elections. We can't work across the aisle with people who believe in open borders and not having secured elections. Look, you can't fly, drive a car, or buy alcohol with an ID. They try to insult minorities to say it's too difficult for them to get IDs, but yet the reality is that they're not worried about the minorities who are crossing our borders getting those temporary IDs to be able to go ahead and foil our elections. This bill has passed the House 5 times. I have voted for it 5 different occasions. I have endorsed the first version of it. I have co-sponsored the second version of it. And I can tell you that nobody sitting on this stage right now has fought harder for election integrity at the federal government level than I have sitting here today.
Is it Mr. Johnson's turn? You're next. Mm-hmm. So, that being said, would you support legislation easing voting eligibility for restrictions for law-abiding legal immigrants? Those who are here, legal. So, would you support legislation easing voting eligibility restrictions for law-abiding legal immigrants?
No. In fact, I actually, it's pretty easy to change your address where you live. You could do it on the internet now. I think that should be tightened up, because there's a candidate here tonight that doesn't technically live here, and he actually did not vote for President Trump until the last general election. I voted for President Trump every time he ran. So making it easier for people, I don't think we should do that. I think that people should try, if they're going to vote for people that represent our country, they need to know what we stand for and what our nation's about.
I told you it's going to happen.
So the bottom line is, I don't think that we should make it easier. I think right now the way the SOEs and the way the state law is regarding our elections is pretty strong and firm.
Flores?
Absolutely not. I don't see why we would allow anyone who is not a citizen to participate in our election process. This is our country. We need to remain sovereign.
Well, I think it goes without saying, being the co-sponsor of the SAVE Act and the Save America Act, that I don't think that we should ease the standards in any way. We should be protecting the standards, increase them to what they should be. If it was up to me, it would be in-person, show ID, 1 day of voting on voting day. Not all the mail-in ballots, not all the other things. And the only exception that would have for our mail-in ballots would be for our brave men and women who serve overseas. That's the only time you should have that exception. And for those who actually are physically disabled, who can't actually make it, but everyone else should be able to show up at the polls, day of voting, show their ID, show their actual match of their signature verification, and at minimum, why not bring a utility bill to actually still show proof that you live in the residency? This is the simplicity of elections.
Elijah?
Absolutely not. I mean, there's nothing we should do that should lessen any restrictions, so absolutely not. Citizenship matters, so in no way should we take a step back.
Okay. Next question. What issue or issues do you disagree with President Trump on?
Well, let's open it up. I do not agree with the way we went into Iran. And I know this is going to come up later. Congress has abdicated their position. We are now working to where it is Republicans versus Democrats, which gives us a two-party system. That's not stable government. We were set up to where we would have the Congressional office, the judiciary, and the executive office that makes a three-legged stool that is very strong. If Congress does not use their power, we are going to lose the republic. And I don't think we need to water that down for anything. So right now we are in a quagmire in Iran. We are spending a lot of money. We are about to be out of munitions. Europe should have been in on this beforehand, spending a lot more money. They are not. They are not invested in their own safety. And right now we have a situation where we're weakening ourselves on the world stage before China and Russia. And that is a serious problem.
So let's go ahead and put the facts straight. First off, there has been fake media that said we're running low on munitions. Secretary Hegseth has come forward and said that is absolutely, I know you're going to be shocked, but fake news. We are actually building at a rate never before under the Arsenal of Freedom tour. I went on that tour with Secretary Hegseth, and the problem was that we didn't set up procurement capabilities properly. Do I agree with what President's done? Well, let's see. Secured borders, better economy, stronger military. We're hitting our recruitment goals every time we actually go there, first time ever. A better America. We're respected on the world stage. I would tell you right now that I have stood by the President, I stand by the President, and that's why I'm endorsed by the President.
Mr. Elijah?
So a couple things on that. First of all, you've mentioned the president many times. I have. There's a restraining order here with your name on it. That you lied to the president about.
No, not true at all. Mr. Elijah, we're going to get to all that. Let's just stick to the...
He's mentioned the president 4 times.
Okay,
but he has his endorsement.
But again,
you've mentioned Sheriff Chitwood, who's endorsed not a single incumbent and actually endorsed against the Trump.
So, well, can you repeat the question if you want me to go down that lane?
So,
question
again, what issue or issues do you disagree with on the president? With the president?
First of all, that's the number one question I get when I'm out there because people want to divide. They want to. If I say at one of my events I disagree with the president, that becomes the headline. So I'd say this off the start: there's not an administration I'm going to agree with 100% of any administration. That said, if I had to pick one, I'd say just one recent one, and that's the Affordability Housing Act. The Affordable Housing Act, which was passed. It was a bipartisan effort. It was a great act. Now, in fairness to the president, the only reason he didn't sign that was because he was protesting against the Save America Act. But I think it delayed some of that. In fact, Congressman Herodopoulos, who is here tonight, one of our supporters, was on that committee that wrote that act. So that is the only one I could find, and it still went through based on the Constitution after 10 days and was signed, but he delayed signing that to protest, rightfully, the Save America Act.
If you want to rebut that.
Look, at the end of the day, we can talk about the Housing Affordability Act, but this is where you don't understand how Congress works. You have to have leverage sometimes when you got a majority. People say we have a majority just because there's enough R's in there. That's not a majority. You don't have a lot of freedom, America First fighters in the Republican Party. I've said this from the beginning. I might be a registered Republican my whole life, but I'm a constitutional conservative, and there is a break in the divide between the two. The President Trump has done the right thing by holding this up so we can push key important things like election integrity, and I continue to stand by the President. And yes, Mr. Elijah, for the 5th time, I am the only one endorsed by President Donald J. Trump.
We'll have more on that later. Do you agree? Do you disagree with anything, or did you answer his question? What was the answer?
I understand reading from a teleprompter is easier, but you can listen.
Mr. Johnson, go ahead.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that President Trump did, because I love President Trump, we busted our asses off from 2015, from the very beginning. I was one of the first 3 people that supported Trump in Seminole County. No one on the stage was around back then. Mr. President Trump made a mistake of endorsing Corey Mills for re-election. And when the ethics report comes out and the other DOJ investigations are completed, you're going to see what we're talking about, because it's coming, folks. Just hold your horses. It's coming.
Go ahead, Mr. Mills.
Well, I think that we've already determined the fact that not only did the Speaker of the House dispel the fact that no DOJ investigation is he even made aware of, Kash Patel, the director, has also said that he's not aware of any, which I would imagine the FBI director would have. And isn't it interesting, just like with President Trump, who was being accused of things, being alleged of things, isn't it interesting? They claim that this investigation was up for a year, but it's only 4 weeks before the election they start break this out by a single anonymous source.
So
Look,
where's
fake
your
news.
exoneration letter?
I didn't realize that you had the mic, sir.
Hold on. We're going to move on. We're going to get to all that. We're going to move on.
He could get an exoneration
So now
letter.
we can just speak freely now?
He
That's
could
the
get
way
an
it's going to be?
exoneration letter, which
Elijah.
Anna Paulina Luna
The
got.
same exact
Again,
thing,
He
right?
knows this is true.
Let's be
He could get an
respectful
exoneration letter.
to everyone watching and
Understand
everyone in the
that.
audience.
But he knows for a
I
fact.
guess the fake news is always going to be fake news.
No, he knows for a fact. He could
don't
get.
say no.
Could you get an exoneration
So
letter?
the whole thing is that there's literally not a single thing. This came out, what, a week and a half ago? And all of a sudden, you had everyone come forward.
No, but he could get an
You know why
exoneration
everyone
letter,
on
and
the
he
stage
knows
is
it.
attacking me right now? Because they just saw the recent polls where they're all down double or triple digits.
There is 100%. There is 100% of DOJ investigation. We have confirmed it, and he knows it's true.
Oh, so he's confirmed it. He must be the single source.
Children,
It's
we're going to
confirmed.
move on.
When you're in denial, everything's a lie. It's confirmed.
So we're going to move on. So the
Do I get a chance to rebut him, like, since he rebutted
we're
me?
going to get to all that because you.
Okay.
These are pretty important issues to get to.
They're going to get
We're
to,
gonna
and
get the
again,
facts out here,
I
folks,
mind
for
you,
you.
please be
We're talking about it
respectful
now.
to everyone here. Let's not embarrass ourselves, everyone.
Not doing
let's,
that.
Let's be respect. Yes, you are. Let's respect everyone here and watching. So let's talk about the economy. Costs are up. Experts say that the U.S. economy is cyclical. When you go to Publix, cupcakes went up by $1. I ain't right. So let's address that. So do you believe, we'll start with Mr. Elijah. Mr. Elijah's next, right? Mr. Elijah, do you believe this is the case today, or do you feel that the downturn in the economy is directly tied to the economic policies implemented by the Biden administration?
You have to repeat that because Corey was saying something at the beginning of that question.
Okay. Do you believe that the economy is cyclical, or do you believe that the downturn in the economy is directly tied to the economic policies coming from the Biden administration?
So this is one of my strengths. I've been into the market a lot, and we followed this. We're at a near all-time high for the Dow, which is a great thing. We elected a president that is a business president, and we have seen that. Sure, the economy's cyclical. Absolutely. We run these flows. We're in a great spot now, but absolutely we have these runs where things go very well, and the economy is very cyclical. That said, we are seeing growth right now. We're seeing the different act, the big, beautiful bill is starting to have an impact. In fact, here's a good example. There's Brunswick, which of course owns a business here. They have reshored some of their manufacturing back to Florida from Mexico. Those are things that make a difference. Growth policies that allow businesses to bring jobs from Monterrey, Mexico, back to Florida make a huge difference. We have seen growth. Yeah, we're in a cyclical spot right now, but we're near the top, and companies are making money, and we need to continue to produce jobs.
Mr. Johnson.
Actually, the economy, in my opinion, from walking the doors in this district, is doing actually pretty good for most people. It's just certain segments of our society that are having issues. The young generation and some of the elder people that can't make the bills payment. The Congress's job is to support capitalism, not to get involved in making laws and rules and controlling every aspect of our lives. The Housing Act that Ryan mentioned earlier, it's not a good deal. If you read it and open it up, it's full of bureaucracy, full of counselors, and we don't need those people anymore. We need the market, the free market and capitalism run our economy, not the federal government.
Thank you. Ms. Ulrich?
We're probably knocking on different doors. There is a segment of the population that is still doing very well. Generally, that's homeowners and people who have money to put in the stock market because it is going up rapidly. Of course, I don't trust that because we are also printing money rapidly. So if you don't want to lose your savings or your retirement, it better be in the market right now. We spent $2.81 trillion over the last year that we did not have. If you do not have money to put in the market and keep up with everything, you are drowning. You are not trying to get ahead. You are just trying to keep your head above water. This is hurting people. The cost of oil going up is hurting small businesses, especially when people can't go out. Household debt is up. Savings is down. It is real.
I think that what we have to understand is that President Trump has inherited a tremendous amount of debt through failed economic policies, not to mention the fact that the federal government has gotten so addicted to spending that they don't know how to keep it within the budget. What President Trump understands, however, is that it's not about the dollar, the baht, the dinar, the ruble, the peso. Energy is the global currency, and that's why this president has been adamant about us making sure that we're going to be energy dominant and we're going to be energy leaders. Why? That lowers the cost of heating, cooling our houses. That lowers the cost of transportation for our goods and our economic capabilities. That allows mom and dad to be able to get back and forth to pick up Johnny from school or whatever the case may be. We have to understand that we're at 130% GDP to national debt expenditure. That is far too high. But as any business owner in here knows, we can't cut our way to prosperity the same way you can't cut your way to profitability. We have to grow it through creating jobs, by bringing it back to America, by promoting America First opportunities. And that's what we're doing. American jobs, American innovation, and American economy. That's what this president's doing, and that's what I've supported.
Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, next question. If elected to the U.S. Congress, what kind of legislation would you introduce or support to address the current affordability issue and help ease the cost of living for everyday Americans?
Who coined the word affordability? I think was a Democrat. Again, the government should not be handing out goodies to everybody. I believe that it's work or you don't eat. And we got to go back to competition and break up some of the big monopolies, because when we talk about paying bills, what are we talking about? Electricity, that's Duke and Florida Power. You're talking about water bills, a lot of them are like the city of New Smyrna Beach. So are we going to attack those people? No, we're not. We need to have competition to bring down the cost of electricity, have more competition in the areas of utilities. Like in Texas, you could actually get your own electric company. You've got a choice when you buy a house out there. So there's lots of different ways to solve the issue without getting federal government involved in it. Thank you.
Sorry.
I agree. The federal government needs to do less. It is doing way beyond what its scope is. We have a lot of social programs out there. Florida is a donor state. It means we send out more federal dollars than we ever get back, and the money we get back we have to beg for. If we keep things local, we will spend less. There will be less bureaucracy. You will be able to spend your own dollars in ways that you see fit instead of what the federal government does. The federal government is there to protect us. It's not doing that right now. There is no surprise that corporations own our politicians before they even get into office. So many people endorse and support because they have given money, because they expect something in return.
Mr. Mills.
So the only thing we can all agree on is that federal government is too involved in our lives. I have always been about the idea of repealing the 17th Amendment, which, if you know, the 17th Amendment under Woodrow Wilson, it disenfranchised our state legislators. But one of the things that we have to do going back into Congress is we have to codify President Trump's executive orders. We have to understand the significant importance from 1780 to 1860 of why tariffs mattered. Back then, 90% of our federal revenue was actually generated by foreign governments who would actually try and sell their products here. Why shouldn't we go ahead and promote American goods, make sure that we tariff goods that are coming in so they can't be cost competitive to ours when they're using slave labor? Why can't we go ahead and start thinking about the fact that when we went to the gold standard to the petrodollar, that energy is our outcome producer, and we have to continue to do that? We have to be understanding on how the global economy works, and it's not the way it has in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. This is a new economy, so codify his laws and stop foreigners from buying our American farmlands.
Elijah?
So obviously I'm not a fan at all of social programs. Ask California how that's worked out. There are some long-term things we can do. Number one, energy prices. This all starts with energy prices. And if you look at last year, some of President Trump's policies that he's put in place in 2025, record crude production. In 2025, LNG production, exporting was the highest it's been. Those are policies that matter. He mentioned taking Johnny to school and gas is cheaper. Those are energy policies that make a difference. That's a long-term fix. Yeah, we can do tax cuts, and we've done a great job with those tax cuts that were in the big, beautiful bill, but it starts with energy prices. If you can get those costs down, it not only affects what you're going to spend, it affects our companies, and those costs are passed down. So start there, make it a long-term fix, and if we keep policies like the current administration has, we are on our way to that.
I just want to point out that no one answered the question specifically or directly. We're good. Next question, tariffs. So do you think that bolstering tariffs are going to bring down, bolster the economic prosperity here in the U.S.? Do you think they're working, and do you think more tariffs will work? Yes.
Well, I think, number one, when you elect a president as a business president, you have to trust him. And you have to trust his administration. I think they've done a good job. That said, we've all sat with CEOs that are not fans of all the tariffs. This is something across the board. It's not going to be 100%. But we go back to that issue with Boston Whaler here. The tariffs make a difference where it encourages a Boston Whaler owned by Brunswick to bring their jobs back on shore. So you have to look at just beyond the regular numbers. Now you've got jobs here. Now you've got revenue coming back in that would not have been there without the big, beautiful bill. So tariffs, we've got to get the trade deficit changed. And that has done that. When you look at China and you look at some of those, I don't think people realized until President Trump got in office how bad some of the trade deficits were, meaning that we're doing so much more business with them and it's not the other way around. So they are working. Are they controversial with some businesses? Yes, but they are working.
Johnson?
Some of the tariffs out there I like, some of them I don't like tariffs on our coffee from Colombia. We don't have any beef with Colombia. I think it should be taken off. Same thing with some of the other commodities that are coming into our country that are out. They're not like some bananas, for example. But automobiles and the industrial might of our country, those countries that are producing and sending in cheap vehicles into our country, it needs to stop. In Europe, they have put tough tariffs on other countries to protect their own industries within, for example, like Germany. So, yes, I believe in a lot of the tariffs that the president has enacted.
Real quick, we're having issues with the mic, so if you can hold them a little bit closer like that, I'm doing the same thing. So, there we go. Ms. Ulrich?
At least we get our own mic. Okay. So I think tariffs are good. I think it's the back and forth that is causing a problem for businesses because businesses need to be able to plan long term. So I would like to see more stability in the tariffs when they are enacted. All that money that's coming back, that's going directly to the companies. The consumers aren't getting it. They priced things up, and now we're just all out of that. So if it were done less chaotically, I think the results would have been better. I do like that we are bringing back some manufacturing. Michael alluded to it. We don't need cars from China, especially smart cars and smart devices. So many of our manufacturers are selling in the Chinese market. They will steal our IP, and then they will sell it back to us. And that is a problem. We need to make sure that we remain strong and that our IP stays within the country.
As I said before, President Trump's done an amazing job bringing back tariffs. This is not a new concept. It was something we used from roughly 1780 to 1860 that actually encompassed about 90% of our overall revenue. Why tariffs are really good against competitors like China is that we'll never compete in the American job field with cheap slave labor like they do with the indentured servitude of the Uyghur. So what we have to do is that we have to make a competitive land for every American company. And the way we do that is to include the tariffs on these individual companies so that we look at our goods and say, you know what? It is actually a little bit cheaper to buy an American good. It is a little bit cheaper for me to go ahead and promote America. And what happens? You get the economies of scale that goes up, the manufacturing touch labor costs go down, and American goods start to become cheaper even without the tariffs. We've mentioned the Big Beautiful Bill. I voted to support the Big Beautiful Bill. But why is American jobs so important in these tariffs? More American jobs means more American tax revenue. More revenue means that the government can actually get down from paying far beyond that 130%.
Next question, Mr. Johnson. The U.S. national debt is hovering at about $40 trillion. If elected to the U.S. Congress, the House of Representatives, what specific legislation measure would you like to see passed to help cut down the debt?
There was an effort back about 15 years ago to kind of roll down the debt. It was called sequestration, and was working pretty good until the presidency changed. And then we went on a big spending spree because of COVID. We were actually on a pathway to get the budget, equal every year, and then to work on the debt later. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of the interest on our debt that we're paying is actually going in to help pay your Social Security income and the Highway Trust Fund. When we collect taxes from Social Security, the highway taxes, gas tax, etc., they're put into these funds. And those funds, in order to thrive and get larger, they have to get interest. So a lot of our debt is actually to ourselves in those funds.
Ulrich?
I would love to see earmarks stopped. This is a problem. This is where all that special spending goes, that $2.81 trillion. How do you think it got added to the budget? It's where we beg the federal government for our money back. If we can stop that and we can shorten our bills, we will save money. We will not enslave the next generation. Corey, you've brought up several times servitude. We are making our children slaves to our debt. And just because it's in a pretty package, unlike China, doesn't mean it's any less true. When inflation steals your opportunities because the government is printing money and handing it out and choosing winners and losers, this is crushing our people.
Mr. Mills?
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is we have to look at getting rid of departments that no longer serve a purpose or the benefit of the good. I would be first to cut the Department of Education, return that back to the independent states. Slash EPA, nobody should tell you what you can or can't build on your land. That should be a state council and commission rule. I think we have to cut the redundant positions that are in the bureaus where you have 6 and 7 people that are doing the same exact job. And let's look at how we can minimize or cut our foreign funding. There doesn't need to be trillions of dollars going to other nations when it should be staying here at home going to the American people.
Mr. Elijah?
So when you've got 74% of the federal budget tied to mandatory entitlement programs, it's pretty tough to work those numbers, and that includes the debt. So I actually agree with him on both of those points with Department of Education and the EPA, and cutting some fraud out of our programs that are welfare programs. There is a ton of fraud there, billions of dollars that we can attack. 74% of the budget is mandated on autopilot. Those are tough numbers. You've got to look for other areas to cut, and I agree with 2 of those that he said.
We're going to move on to a big issue right now. It's foreign policy. So, Ms. Ulrich, starting with you. Latest public opinion polling suggests that the U.S. conflict with Iran could cost Republicans the 2026 midterm elections. First off, do you support how President Trump has executed military action against the Iranian regime? And should the U.S. continue targeting Iranian aggression and aggression from its proxies like Hezbollah, the Houthis?
Something needs to be done. I agree with that, but we already discussed that I don't agree how it's being done. I've been in business negotiations for decades. I've never seen one like this. We know that our enemy is a liar. We know we cannot trust them. We are wasting a lot of money and a lot of time, and it is hurting our credibility on the world stage. We need Europe to come in. They are a lot closer to this. They need to invest in their own safety, and we need to ensure that we can protect ourselves in the long term.
Bills?
So I think as we've all seen, the president came in and immediately cut the Obama administration's JCPOA, which is a failed nuclear agreement with Iran. You cannot negotiate with terrorists. We already know that and established that. But what we have to acknowledge is this, that Iran posed a great nuclear threat. How do we know that? Whenever everyone said, to include Europe, they do not have a missile capable of over 1,500 kilometers, they launched one at almost 2,200 kilometers toward Diego Garcia. That means that would have hit Rome, Paris. It would have hit major cities in every single European country that could have been nuclear and weaponized, not to mention the fact that allies in our own area. We have to acknowledge the fact that the IRGC is a malign actor and that what we've only done was help to negotiate, as this president's done, but we've also cut the oil revenue to China, which weakens them further. We've allowed ourselves to control the Straits of Hormuz. We've allowed ourselves to show on the world stage the strength of America. And I'll tell you, I stand by this president and our approach to make sure that Iran never holds a nuclear weapon to threaten the American soil.
Mr. Elijah?
So at the outset of this, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said there's an imminent threat. Once there's an imminent threat, you have to go forward. Here's the problem, and I've said this a lot at our events. They can't match our military strength. What they can match is the resolve of the American people, and they've done that through the media in many cases, trying to get public opinion. They also know midterms are coming. And unfortunately, that message gets to them, and they know while they can't match our military, they can match our resolve. So it's an issue. We've got to finish the job. We've got to make sure IRGC cannot be trusted. You're dealing with a country where the people are great. The people in leadership are not, and they cannot be trusted. We've got to finish the job. We have to make sure the strait's open. If we can get a regime change, if we don't get that, the problem is we're back here again. So it'd be nice to see that job finished, and certainly with midterms coming up, it'd be nice sooner rather than later.
Mr. Johnson?
The Islamic regime of Iran has been killing our soldiers for the past 47 years. I was actually walking in the halls and working at McDonnell Douglas, where we were building F-4 jets for the Shah of Iran. And we had to stop production of those jets because the Muslim Islamic terrorist death cult took over that country. I know a lot of Iranians that live in the Orlando area, and they want their country back. And they want this coup to end. And I believe that the president needs to stop listening to the weak people in the government and listen to the strong ones and know and realize that Islam is a threat to America and that we need to stop it and stamp it out. And Iran is the first place to go because 70% of the people over there do not even follow the cult. So I support the more going on and the end of the regime. And we also would like to have the Europeans and those ships you see on the maps every night on the news going through the straits, those are not even our ships. They're trade partners from other countries that we're not even involved in. So anyway, I believe that we should follow through and end the war. I want unconditional surrender, period.
Mr. Mills, President Trump ousted dictator Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. Was that the right move, first of all, and would you like to see the administration pivot and lock on to communist Cuba?
First off, it was an amazing thing. He was an illegitimate leader who was continuing to try and rule in a communist fashion. Not to mention the fact that when we actually stopped the illicit oil trade from Iran and Russia from going to Venezuela, it puts an economic stronghold against them where they can't continue to threaten Taiwan and saber-rattled as the paper tiger. It stops Iran from being able to go ahead and pretend that their oil that they're shipping to Russia and China is not Iranian oil and getting money to continue to fund proxy militias like these Iranian or like these Islamic-backed radical militias. And so what President Trump's done is not just free Venezuela, but he's also opened up an avenue for American oil and gas there in Venezuela. He's helped to continue to push the Monroe Doctrine, and we've actually made our country, the Western Hemisphere, and the rest of the world safer. I support that, and I support the overthrow of the communist regime in Cuba as well, which poses a great threat when China has the largest spy base and training base in Cuba 90 miles off the coast of Florida. That poses a direct threat to us, and we must be able to secure our Western Hemisphere.
Mr. Elijah?
This is what they call the Monroe Doctrine. And in this case, I would say this is probably the most impressive military operation I think I've seen, and that says something for our country. The way they went in there and made that change was impressive, and I think it's our brave men and women that did that. So that's fantastic. But energy, when we talk energy dominance, this matters. Because we get in there, and Congressman Mills talked about it, that money going to these countries makes a difference. They're doing that from crude oil. So to get in there and get those shipping channels and to get the crude oil makes a tremendous difference. But more important than not, the way our military went in like that and did it and removed him was impressive, and it sends a message to the rest of the world.
Johnson?
I was one of 12 people in the United States. I was called the Armed Services Planning Production Officer that signed the top secret clearances throughout the nation for the production of weapons and goods and vehicles around the world, including aircraft, missiles, everything. There are a lot of secrets that our government has that we don't know about, and I give the credit to what happened in Venezuela to the soldiers that were on the mission, not to the politicians that brag about it. You know, if you're not in the fight, you're not part of the fight. And we hear these politicians are on Newsmax, Fox News, and they're talking about how this was done, that was done. Well, you weren't there. In fact, there's a person on this platform up here that actually deserted his unit in Iraq. Check his record out, folks. It's on the Army front page. And we got soldiers that I didn't mention your name.
You just
I
did.
said there's someone
you
on
just
this
implied
stage.
him. Mr. Mills, you can
Okay,
reply.
so he acknowledges him.
Look, at the end of the day, what the truth is, go check my DD-214 and my OMPF file. It's on the actual website. It was put up the same day as Secretary Hegseth, and we actually talked about that. The other thing is you can see the June 2024 letter that actually says that I am an actual Army combat veteran. Very proud of that. Served in the 82nd Airborne Division, served the 325th Airborne Infantry Regiment. I don't have to try and go ahead and inflate things. You have individuals who say they have a Cold War medal on their website, even though a Cold War medal has never been approved and or exists. So that's the teapot calling the kettle black, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, Mr. You can address that because I'm pretty sure he's inferring to you.
Yeah. Okay, right here, folks, if you go, we spent time, we're dealing with the Army investigators. We are dealing with the Army investigators on stolen valor. We got testimony from the troops. And people that laugh at that, if the soldiers were here today, I don't think they wouldn't put up with that. I tell you that right now. We know the soldiers personally that their valor is stolen from. Here's a copy of a DD-215 where they took Corey Mills' Bronze Star away from him, folks.
Well, look, at the end of the day, you see where the president has actually even acknowledged my Bronze Star. Apparently, the guy who sits on the stage knows more than the President of the United States, the Secretary of the Army, the Department of the Army, and the Secretary of War, who have all confirmed my Bronze Star and my Army combat time. I'll trust the President of the United States from someone who's just trying to run as an unbeat opponent.
Real quick, Mr. Johnson, we're going to move on to the next question.
Okay, well, apparently the President has not read your OPM file. We just got it listed. We got the Army to put it on the front page.
Apparently the President
of
doesn't read his files.
Let me finish it out, Mills. You know, you're despised and hated by your soldiers. They were going to come here tonight and call you out for the lies you told. You know, you use your office to get it. We want the second page of the DA form 628.
Let's move on to the next question.
The general even said that
Mr. Johnson,
the signature was forged.
We're
forged,
Mills. Mr. Johnson, we're going to get to that shortly.
Okay, thank you.
You're next, Mr. Elijah. Do you support continued military assistance to Ukraine?
So there are different ways to look at that. Let's remember back when that happened, the anger we all felt and how we felt for Ukraine when Russian troops were sitting on that border. Now that we're years later, it's the right move was in 2024 to stop the money that was going over there. At this point, it's got to be a NATO issue for them. We have done everything we can. We've got to, when you talk about American First, we cannot be in these endless wars, especially when we're continuing to fund those. So, no, I think the vote in 2024 was the right vote to stop that funding.
Mr. Johnson.
I have a family member that works in intelligence over with the Special Operations Command in Europe, and they're providing the target and help for Ukraine. I do support Ukraine because they are on our side. And there's a person on this bench that's been sued by 2 Ukrainian companies. The DHS seized ammunition that he was sending to Ukraine, their company, because it had fraudulent paperwork attached to it. Another company that was sending weaponry to or ammo to Ukraine sued Corey Mills for fraud. He's got an $8 million outstanding fraud payment due, and the judge just froze his assets a couple months ago because they were unable to pay the debt. That's Ukraine. He said he was against Ukraine. We got him on tape, but yet he's selling stuff to Ukraine, or was trying to. But it got confiscated by DHS. There's a federal lawsuit going on in Virginia for the one, and there's another federal lawsuit going on in Virginia for the other one, and there's more coming, folks.
Go ahead, Mr. Mills.
Well, apparently he missed the fact that I was elected in 2022. And so what he missed is that what a company does after I've divested away from them and they choose to do, that's on them. But my record speaks for itself. I have never voted for Ukrainian funding, and I wouldn't vote for Ukrainian funding. Why? That's not our war. We have our own war at home, and not to mention the fact in 1947, when NATO was created, it was created for one purpose, which is to stop Soviet Union expansionism. Why is it NATO stepping up doing their job? Because it stands for Now America Takes Over, just like the UN stands for Useless Nations. I fight for America, I'll stay with America, and I'm not funding foreign wars.
Ms. Ulrich.
I believe I actually get 2 minutes because I didn't get to answer the previous question. That's okay. So just 2 minutes for me. I think that our interest in Ukraine is only in holding Russia back. Russia and China, who actually have nuclear weapons that they can use, we need to stay prepared to face them should they ever want to come after us. But as far as Venezuela goes, wasn't that cool to watch? That was pretty cool to watch. Cuba, I really don't have an opinion on. Foreign affairs is not my specialty. I am in the business world. I'm not going to be on the committees that Corey Mills would be. I would be Ways and Means, Ethics, Budget, things of that nature. But since I do have time, I would like to ask a couple questions. Mr. Mills, can you tell us about your wedding and who officiated?
We're going to get there.
No. I still have my 2 minutes.
No, but you're not going to go there. We're going to.
It's her time. I mean,
But
there were no rules.
Hold on, but he's not asking. She's not asking of each other.
It's her time.
It's
That's
still
the rule
my
of the debate.
time.
Well,
I
we didn't
understand
agree to rules.
But
I've done
Corey-
1,000 debates. There were no
Corey,
games for
would
this
you
debate.
You guys
to
want to
respond?
co-opt it. You
Can
don't
I
have to
answer
answer,
the
Mr.
question?
It's up to you.
Corey's okay with it.
I'll allow her to ask the question.
Thank you. I'd like to just know about your wedding, where it was held, the building, who officiated it, and how it was officiated if you didn't convert. Elijah, I'd also like to ask you a question. You said you were brought to Washington and kind of courted for a little bit. Who brought you there? Who asked you to run? And what did you promise them in return? Discuss.
You want to go
Should
first?
I go first?
You
That's
go
fine.
first. Go ahead.
So what a lot of people don't know is that my ex-wife used to work with the intelligence agency under Lieutenant General Hertling. During that time, unfortunately, the Islamic factions found out about exactly what she was doing, and the first thing they did was they assassinated her brother, and a week later her father. They continued to try and pick her family off one by one, where she was rescued by the Catholic Relief Fund and Ambassador Ryan Crocker and flown here to the U.S. We were actually married at the Fairfax courthouse. Her uncle, who's the only remaining relative, was dying, and it was the brother of her father. In order to go back, they would have said that she's still technically married under her last marriage unless she can show proof of this. They won't accept American sign-off, so what they'll do is that her mother actually went and got someone to sign a letter that basically says that she is legally divorced by someone who was from Iraq. That protects her from being murdered. That protects her from being imprisoned. That protects her from having dowries. And I don't think there's a single man in here who wouldn't do whatever it takes to be able to protect his family, protect his wife. And I'll tell you right now, I'm a proud Christian. I always have been. And we can go ahead and do the campaign and say the Lord's Prayer all we want right now.
Time. Mr. Elijah.
Okay, so first of all, I think it's important we answer all questions. A few people have said it's not the issues. These are the issues. I know, but I'm just for the crowd. These are issues Democrats are coming for. And you need to understand that in September and October, these are their issues.
And we're going to address all those questions coming up.
But I'm happy to hear that because these are the issues. But I would say this. I've been to Washington multiple times with multiple people. I have never made a promise to any single individual. I think relationships matter. I've got a lot of strong relationships in Washington. I'm proud to say that. Some of them are here tonight. There is nothing at all to apologize for having strong relationships in our nation's capital.
Okay. Mr. Mills. How do we deal with China? Would you support a peace through strength initiative approach to China, considering they're considered our biggest enemy around the world?
Well, President Trump's already doing it. I think that the elimination of Maduro, which cuts off key oil for China, I think the elimination of Iran's oil, which 70% is being refined by China, I think that enabling our Indo-PACOM area to strengthen itself, which actually protects Taiwan, which right now builds 92% of our semiconductors, what the president's doing is he's continuing with tariffs and other methods to go ahead and put a stranglehold. People don't realize China's got a 1.4 billion population. Their economy is worse than ours, but because they don't allow their yen to be audited, it makes them seem stronger. They're not. That's why they didn't finish the Belt and Road Initiative. That's why we have to get back to creating American goods with American product. How? We have to get raw earth metals. We have to start getting raw materials to manufacture smelt here. We have to build refineries. We have to go ahead and stop being scared of nuclear energy, because nuclear energy is one of the best things that we can do at fractions of a cent. We have to get back to not relying on adversarial nations, that every single Chinese-owned agriculture should be taken away immediately.
Mr. Elijah.
So China is obviously a tremendous risk to us. They've got a technology with their military that's getting better each year. Rare earth minerals matter. We need them for defense. We need them for technology. But we also need this, and I think this is where the president has done an amazing job. Look at Boeing. Boeing is now selling their airplanes to China. And look at NVIDIA. We have the most extensive, elaborate GPU chip in the world that they desperately want. We have had to adapt that where there is a certain version that goes to China. Those things all matter. We have to cut off some of their funding. We have to have an open trade with them, which is good. The president does a great job of changing that trade, but we've got to manage that. We need the rare earth minerals. They need our GPUs. They just can't have the ones from NVIDIA that are the best that make a difference with our U.S. military.
Mr. Johnson.
The best way to deal with China is everybody in this room needs to stop buying stuff from China. Then it ends up that problem. We take them over just by doing that, but we're not. I want to go back to Neil said that he gave up his companies. Well, you know, on your federal disclosure reports you have to make every May, which you haven't done yours yet this year, by the way, it says that you still own those companies, Corey.
You can only wait 5 minutes.
And the blind trust does not meet the congressional requirements for a blind trust. So that's all boogie-woogie stuff. And by the way, you said that you were married at the courthouse. Well, I've been up to the courthouse. On this document, it's either fraudulent, that you filed a fraudulent marriage certificate document, or you got married at the mosque. And in order to get married at the mosque, you had to go through 40 hours of Islamic training to be a good Muslim husband. So every time we hear you talk about the excuse, you try to walk around it and you spread the story. It gets longer and longer and longer, and different versions come out.
Time.
Why don't you tell the truth once in a while in your lifetime?
Mr. Mills, you can address the boogie-woogie.
I don't even know how to continue to address the exact same thing. Bottom line is that if they would saw me eat as many bacon sandwiches as I eat per day, I guarantee they wouldn't have that same outcome. Look, I'm not going to continue to entertain such nonsense. I'm a proud Christian. I don't have to go ahead and disclose my faith because my faith's between God and I. And I can tell you right now, as anyone knows, I'm in prayer groups. Chase Tremont knows I'm in prayer groups. Everyone knows that we continue to even share text messages back and forth each day. I'm happy to show it even with Chris Calv, where we do daily devotionals. So I'm not going to sit here and trying to justify the fact that we actually had someone sign a paper so my wife could go back, ex-wife now, to be able to see her uncle before he was killed or before he died, and that she wouldn't be killed in the making. There is no husband in here who wouldn't do anything to protect his wife. And if there is, you're probably going to be divorced soon.
Ms. Ulrich.
The question was on China, right? Okay. It got a little
Not the
convoluted
boogie-woogie,
there.
China.
All right. Well, I think that we need to move our manufacturing back from China, but my real concern is AI. Our data is out there, and we are not being protected in any way. Large corporations are taking it. It is being sold. They are surveilling us. We know it. And when China has our information, that is a serious problem. We need to keep their goods out of our country. Again, we're told spend, spend, spend. We are a consumeristic economy. It is not good. We are going into debt. We need to teach our children better. We need to teach them financial accuracy, how to use it as a tool. And we're not doing that. Our federal government can't spend within its limits. Our children don't know how to either. We're increasing debt, and some of that is going to China. So we don't need to make their economy more powerful as we're hurting our own.
Mr. Elijah, we're going to pivot to Israel. Okay. So after the October attacks back in 2013, October
looking at Israel as an ally. That doesn't mean a blank check. I understand that. We can't have a blank check everywhere, but Israel is a key ally that we have to support, and I do not support the two-state system.
It was a two-part question, but I'm going to ask you some more time to answer the second question. So, do you support Israel's military actions against Hamas terrorists and against the Iranian regime? So that was the second part of the question.
Absolutely. They've got to protect themselves, 100%.
Mr. Johnson? So that was a two-part question.
Okay, there's actually a three-state solution going on right now. It's Israel, Jordan, and Egypt. The people in Samaria and Judea, they are actually, a lot of them were born when that area of the world was occupied by Jordan after 1948. And the same thing with Gaza. You know, it was occupied and ran by Egypt for a long time. So some of the stuff that happened with Clinton, the Oslo Accords, messed it all up. You know, it totally messed it up. The way they got the place all looks like like cheese. So I support the fight against Islamic terrorism. And the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, and Hezbollah, Iran, the Sunni Muslims that run now Syria, have turned Gaza and northern Lebanon into forts and bases for them. Do you know Fort Bragg, North Carolina, is actually twice as big as Gaza? Gaza is like an army base for the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas.
Ms. Ulrich?
Yes, they absolutely had a right to protect themselves when they were attacked. No doubt about that. It is not our place to dictate what their solution is, because that is what they are going to have to live with. We should treat them as any other ally. The largest concern I have about Israel is the amount of money they give to our politicians. We should not allow foreign entities to creep into our government system and influence us in that manner.
Are you referring to AIPAC?
Yes.
Okay. What else?
Look, no one knows more innate than I do about what happened on October 7th. On October 10th, I was actually in Israel conducting the first rescues out of Israel, out of Tiberias, out of Nazareth, out of Haifa. In total, after we got done, we ended up rescuing 255 Americans who were trapped in Israel. And the reality is that does Israel have a right to defend itself? Absolutely. What I'm sad to see is the amount of anti-Semitism that's creeping into our society. The fact that it's very clear whether if you're claiming to be a Christian, you have to understand that part of that is understanding that the Israelites are God's people. And so I believe in their right to defend themselves. I believe in their right to their defense. And to Sarah's point, and I agree, they're a sovereign nation. How they go about defending their nation should not be up to us. We need to stop the interventionist mindset, and we need to start thinking about America and America first, and let other countries and other regions start settling out their problems, not us coming in to settle their problems.
I'm still thrown up at the boogie woogie. So who's next as far as the line of question? Is that Mr. Elijah? Was it?
Maybe I got lost, but sure.
Okay. This is a quick question. Either yes or no. Would you continue, if you're elected to the U.S. Congress, would you continued support, military support to Israel?
I would have to see what's happening on the ground at the time. The situation is so fluid. If it is in our best interest or something we committed to through our treaties, then yes. If it is outside that scope, I need to know what the details are before I'm going to render an opinion.
Mills?
Israel in 2018 received something from Secretary Rubio, which is a $3.8 billion resupply. That resupply takes care of David's Sling, Arrow 1, Arrow 2, and the Iron Dome. That is a big step for us to be able to help. And not only that, but it actually helps our defense companies as well. Do I actually believe that we should send our troops over to fight for another country? No, I actually don't. I think we need to protect our brave men and women. We need to make sure that they have one of the strongest militaries. They can handle this. Israel is one of our strongest allies in the region, and I can tell you they could easily handle themselves if we unshackle them and let them go ahead and do it, and that's what's necessary to eliminate terrorists in that region.
It's an easy yes for me. We've already said that.
Israel has asked us to stay out of their wars on their territory. The weaponry that we are sending them, they actually have designed the Iron Dome before we actually designed Patriot cruise missiles and things like that. I worked in a Pentagon agency that oversaw the development of the Star Wars, And I remember going into one of the companies, it was called Coleman Research at the time. They were the ones that were developing all the technology with Raytheon and Lockheed and them to shoot down missiles, shooting missiles. And I was there in the meeting rooms with them when the scientists and the software people were putting together. I was in charge of the budgets. And we actually, at one point in time, was trying to shut down Israel's design of the Iron Dome in the United States government here, and we had to stop it. So, again, we hear people talk about what other people have done. They haven't been in the fight. I've been in the fight. I've been there in the buildings. I've been there where the stuff was being developed with the secret clearances that we had.
Time.
And now we come down the road 20 years later, and people are acting like they're a part of of what's going on, and they're not.
Time.
So anyway, yes, Israel has not asked us to join their fight.
Thank you.
And so we won't be joining their fight.
Time. One of you invoked anti-Semitism. One of you invoked anti-Semitism. You're next, Mr. Mills. Anti-Semitism, the rise of anti-Semitism in the U.S., specifically in the Republican Party of Florida. There's been a lot of influencers like Tucker Carlson who have stroked this, the anti-Semitism, or the perceptions that they have stroked this. What do you make of that kind of rhetoric? And do you denounce that kind of rhetoric coming from some of these influencers?
First off, I absolutely denounce the idea of anti-Semitism, whether it be in our country or whether it be in our schools. We saw where our children were being terrorized just for going to school and being a Jewish American. That should never happen on American soil. This is why we need to take a bigger, significant importance to what's happening here at home, more so than just what's happening abroad. Do I believe that we need to be anti-Semitism? No, of course not. That's the most ridiculous thing in the world. We were actually founded on a Christian Judeo belief. Why would we not want to try and go ahead and protect that, in which we've actually had as the greatest ally ever? So I think that we need to stomp out anti-Semitism, and we need to stop that even on our side, because if it's a funding issue, talk about foreign funding. Don't talk about anti-Semitism.
Yeah, I had mentioned that, and the anti-Semitism has grown. It is a funding question for some, and it's the way the war is handled. If you have a disagreement over how we support Israel, that's fine. But when you sit with these groups that are Jewish and you find out what they've gone through, that's another thing. And yes, we have First Amendment rights, but it can go too far at some point. And without a doubt, you have to separate the decision on how we fund Israel versus being anti-Semitic. And a lot of times, they're probably the least protected in that group. It happens, and nothing happens as a result.
Johnson?
Anti-Semitism is becoming bad in this country again, and it's not called for. We have a new group of people that have come to our country, and their cult belief is that they want to wipe them out, just like the Nazis. And probably the Nazis got their views from the Islamic fundamentalists because the genocides that happened in Turkey against Armenia. So I support everybody's religious beliefs, and they have a right to express those beliefs. But the hatred shown toward a small group of people is uncalled for and needs to stop.
Ms. Ulrich?
I detest the fracturing of our society by putting people into different groups based on their race, which is a man-made construct. I think that the less we do that, the more united we will be as a nation. I'd love to see that we've gotten rid of a lot of the DEI. That is something I definitely agree with Trump on. That has been a fantastic thing for our country and will continue to do so. I do have pause, just like the other gentleman, when people will not assimilate to our laws. That is a different issue. That is wanting to create chaos and abuse position. We cannot tolerate that, and we cannot stand for it. Again, our sovereignty as a nation is incredibly important.
Now, we're going to address the 800-pound gorilla in the room, or the 800-pound elephant in the room. It's your time. So over the past year, we've seen a lot of news, if you would, coming out of Washington in addressing, involving Congressman Mills. A lot of it hasn't been flattering, so this is a perfect opportunity to address these issues. Before we ask these questions directly to Congressman Mills, I want to address this question to the three of you opponents. All three of you are running against Corey Mills, an incumbent congressman. The question is, tell us why exactly you are running against him and what specific piece of legislation he has voted on or supports that you disagree with him on. Mrs. Ulrich, go.
I have wanted to do this for several decades. ever since I found out what abortion was when I was 11. I was horrified. If you can horrify an 11-year-old with a medical procedure, you know there is something wrong. So I started looking at, well, how do you protect people and how do you create systemic change? And I realized that the federal government is a great way to do that, but I did not want to beg people to do what I knew was the right thing to do. So I've been making sure that I had the education and I knew the issues to serve, and I wanted to wait until I was needed and my family was ready. Well, my children are in college now, and I was needed. We are one of 3 districts targeted by the Democrats for flipping because I believe that if Mr. Mills makes it out of the primary, we will turn to a blue district. And I want to hold the seat for the people, but I also see that the people are being taken advantage of and no longer represented, and I will represent you.
Mr. Elijah.
So I have been up front at the very beginning, and you can ask Mr. Mills. We exchanged texts the very day. I said, this isn't personal for me. I'm in it so we don't lose this seat. And I'm in it because I believe, and I've seen it through 3 months, that leaders and voters in this district have lost confidence and trust in him. That is the reality. And I will say, look no further than the Trump DOJ has an investigation right now taking place. Somebody just said a blatant lie. And Corey can tell you, you can get a letter exonerated from the DOJ. Have you gotten that? Why not if you're innocent?
2 weeks ago, you had an anonymous source who comes forward 4 weeks before the election and claims that there's a DOJ investigation that's been going on for an entire year. Then further goes on to say this person has intimate knowledge of the investigation. When asked, what is the investigation about? Oh, I don't know. This is obviously not a trusted source. How many people in this room support President Donald J. Trump? How many people saw the federal indictments that was coming and being levied against him? How many people remember all the allegations by the fake news? If we would have believed in the same things back then, President Trump wouldn't be our president right now.
But the DOJ, it's an active investigation, and you're going to let the president down when that goes through.
Did the DOJ actually confirm that with you directly?
I have confirmed, and there have been
because
sources.
Because last time I checked, I've heard what news outlets do when they say, I have a source. And usually you need a minimum of 3 sources to even be able to pass that. That's why the Smith-Mundt Act under the modernization of the 2012 Obama should be converted back to what it was, so we can't have propagandized media here in America any longer.
There is 100%. Let me just, one final thought. I've done for 30 years in this business. I would never go without a source. I can promise you 100% there is a DOJ investigation, and the people clapping for him are going to be disappointed when they have a Democratic representative when it comes out in September.
Mr. Johnson, go ahead. Your turn.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why I'm running against Corey Mills, and this is personal with me. Stolen valor, like I said earlier, is a very, very important thing to me. And when you lie about other soldiers who have been on the battlefield, that have been wounded, shot, killed, and have maimed the rest of their life, and you steal those stories, that's evil and nasty and wicked. You have done that, Corey Mills. I've talked to the soldiers face-to-face and on the phone with some agents in this room. You are under investigation. It's 100% fact by DOJ. I can't name the people and the sources. I can't do that. There's a lot more out there going on. The president has kept his mouth shut about it all. So stay tuned, folks. I'm telling you, just stay tuned. A lot of people didn't believe me when I said a lot of things about Mills the last election. He said they're lies. They're actually factual. He was married in a mosque. He lied about it. He tried to cover it up. He said he was blown up twice. He wasn't blown up twice. He admitted that he didn't. Right? He didn't. He admitted it, but he lied about it. This goes on and on and on and on. I could spend an hour why I'm running against Corey Mills. Thank you.
We're going to move on to the next question. Look,
I get to rebuttal.
Right. Well, the next question was.
I get to rebuttal the exact comment with regards to Islam. I literally am the co-sponsor of the Assimilation Act, which means that if you're an actual person who comes to this country and you don't assimilate to our Western civilization, we have a right to denaturalize you and deport you. Being an American is a privilege, not just some right for all these people who want to come here. The other thing, I was one of the original people on the Sharia Free Caucus. Why? Because Sharia law has no place in American and Western civilization. Islam has no place in Western and American civilization. And if I was so radical, why would I go rescue 255 Israelis out of Israel whenever everyone was turning their back on them? I was the one that went there, not a single other person on this stage.
Well, the next question was about stolen valor, so we already addressed that. All right.
Which, by the way, Michael Johnson showed up to my commander's house claiming to be writing a book. My commander called me, and General Arnold Bray, who's the one who signed off on that medal, he told the Department of the Army, which is why they wrote a June 2024 letter that's published and out there, that I was awarded the Bronze Star, that I do have a combat medical badge. And when you look for reasons, it says in active ground combat.
The next question was...
Okay, wait a minute. I get it to rebut. He mentioned my name.
Sure. Go ahead.
No, I can't let this go. I did meet with General Bray. Yes, I met with him. We went over the statements of the soldiers that he was telling lies about. I also talked to the commander, Eric Nance. He never heard of Corey Mills. He said that he and his team tried to contact him to get him a Bronze Star in May and June of 2024 while he's in Congress. Corey Mills, you need to start telling the truth. I know you got some followers here. I hope their character's not as bad as yours.
Time.
Javier, I want to say this.
Good.
I'm not going to weigh in on his service, but I am going to say this, and these names will ring home with him. Will, Max, Scott, Paul, and Jeff have all reached out to me confirming his claims.
And not a single one of them ever served with me in the United States Army. They were contractors with me.
So,
not sure how that's valid.
But you know those names.
So the next question was, they're killing me with they're answering all my questions. All right. Department of Justice, is there an active investigation? You answered that question. Okay. So done with that one. Okay. Again, Mr. Mills, you are currently under investigation by the House Ethics Committee for alleged sexual misconduct, dating violence, campaign finance violations, misuse of congressional resources, and involvement with federal contracts while in office. Can you address in detail each accusation?
I can. Actually, what we'll start out with is the fact that I actually referred myself to ethics, and you can actually watch it on C-SPAN, because I got tired of looking at what they call this political whack-a-mole. You whack one dispelled rumor, then they try and give you another. When the Army issued a letter in June of 2024 confirming my actual awards for wartime verification, this guy said, oh, it doesn't have a 1/8 inch space header on the top, therefore it's a fraudulent document. You get tired of these types of things, but here's the bottom line. I have never been charged of any actual crime and or misdemeanor. I have never actually had a mugshot of any sort. And as far as ethics goes, yes, an ethics investigation can take place. I initiated it.
Can I make a quick comment?
But a lack of charge doesn't mean no wrongdoing. It's important to
no
understand
probable
that.
cause and charges dropped does.
Well, the video didn't look good, and I think we can all agree with that.
Ms. Elder, you want to add?
I'm just curious, what makes you such an awesome rock star in Congress that this many people want to come after you with false accusations? Because usually that's when something happens, when you're really moving and shaking, getting something done.
When you're the third lowest Republican seat in the state of Florida and you lead the entire state in constituent services, when you flip this seat from blue to red, which makes it a target, when you fight for President Trump, and even though it's an R5, I vote like it's an R35. And that's because I believe in the constitutional principles. I don't back down. And they want to eliminate people like that because they want swampy people who will continue to go to the lobbies and get the money exactly like you talked about and come in here and do exactly what they want, not what the American people and not what their constituents want. That's why they want to remove me. That's why they want me out. And that's why there hasn't ever been any charges found guilty. Only accusations, allegations. Same thing they did to President Donald J. Trump.
No, let me move on to the next. So sticking to the allegations. Obviously, these allegations have left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, of your supporters and potential voters, and of general election voters. Why should voters continue to support you considering all of these allegations?
I think that my record speaks for itself. We have a 96% voting record of the most constitutionally conservative records in Congress. We lead the entire state of Florida. We're the only member of Congress who actually has gone and rescued Americans who have been left abroad. We have continued to stand with the America First agenda. And look, at the end of the day, we know that what the swamp doesn't want, what the lobbies don't want, and what the establishment doesn't want are people who are going to push back and fight. That's why they utilize the media to try and come after you. That's why they launch their false accusations. But what have you not found? A single actual form of guilt. Not one time have they said, you're guilty of this or you're guilty of that. In fact, there was charges dropped and there was actually people who recanted lies about me. So at the end of the day, they're always going to attack me the same way they attacked President Trump. But guess what? I'm not backing down. The same way that we even had Supreme Court Justice who came forward and they were trying to attack him, what did he say? He said, I'm not backing down and I'm not withdrawing. I'd rather die than withdraw. That's the type of stance we have to take here.
There is a current ethics investigation going on. Yeah, it was said troubling and complex is how they described it.
Right, we addressed
No, but
that.
I'm saying he acts like this is currently going on, right?
But yet we're not acting like I'm the one that initiated it because
Let
I'm
me
trying to
ask you
play
this.
political whack-a-mole.
Did you extort the Speaker of the House on the House floor saying you would not vote with Republicans if this didn't go away? I have 3 witnesses say it wasn't. Did
Again,
you
here
say
we go
on the
with
House
anonymous
floor,
sources once more.
House floor, did
Go
you
ahead
tell,
and name your sources.
Did you tell
So much
Speaker
for my
Mike
other
Johnson?
Speaker Mike Johnson
you would vote with
just
Democrats?
came out. If you listen to Speaker Mike Johnson, last 2 weeks ago, Speaker Mike Johnson, when he was walking to the House, he said, I support Corey Mills. He is a great member. He is a strong member. Go look at the video. It's on my website right now. Speaker Johnson himself
It's
talking about how
hardly
I'm
an
a great
endorsement.
member.
So you're saying you did not tell him you would vote with Democrats if this didn't go away?
You guys
Go look at my
killing me.
voting,
That was
my
next
voting
question.
record speaks
Voting
for
record
itself.
doesn't matter. The witnesses do. And these are witnesses that are
So
very
I guess
well known in this
witnesses
room.
and anonymous sources are more important than my voting record, which is
Okay.
actually logged in.
We're running out of time. I want to get the closing statements, but let me add this. Mr. Mills, you voted against censuring Representative Ilhan Omar. Can you tell us why you voted against one of the most hated members of the Progressive Squad?
It's a great question. Look, at the bottom of the end, I told you I've been a registered Republican my entire life, but I'm a constitutional conservative. I believe in those 7 articles, 27 amendments. It's not something that you just go ahead and protect when it's convenient. People wore a uniform and fought to protect that and died. I believe for a fact, when I went to the parliamentarian, I said, did she violate any parliamentary rule? They said no. When I went to Chairman Guest of Ethics and I said, did she actually violate any investigation? He said no. When I went to the Supreme Court ruling, Brandenburg versus Ohio, it's very clear. It says without imminence, intent, and capability of violence, whether you like it or not, is covered by free speech. Last time we censured somebody was Adam Schiff. You know where he's at now? He's a senator because he raised hundreds of millions of dollars off that censure. What we're doing is we're trying to eliminate the free speech of one individual, make her a free speech martyr, not to mention the fact that why do we want to silence the Democrats? Do I condemn her violent, abhorrent talk? Absolutely. But why do we want to stop them from saying what's actually on their hearts and on their minds instead of allowing Americans to hear what the Democrats truly stand for?
The problem is 213 Republicans disagreed in just
And they were all wrong.
In just 2 years prior, he said we cannot stand for hate. So what changed in those 2 years?
We cannot stand for hate when it is actually going to try and threaten the lives, the sovereignty, or the actual individuals. Someone saying something that you don't like, so what happens? Now all of a sudden, Mr. Elijah says something I don't like. I'm allowed to go out and try and prosecute
But
press
what he's not
charges?
saying is
Not
weeks
true.
later, the censure went away from Democrats that had been brought up. After that vote, the censure against Corey Mills went away. He knows that. This is a vote he despises.
But
in
yet
his
I
history.
actually censured the individual McIver because she put her hands on an ICE officer. When they were threatening that they were going to censure me if I voted for her, I said, I don't care. She put her hand on an ICE officer. That deserves, because you're actually in a violation of law. Free speech must be protected. You don't get to pick which
But
constitutional
you were
amendments that you
compromised.
get or don't.
You were
because at the end of the day, I'm the one who actually has gone to combat, worn that uniform to protect it, and the only
And I
one on the
respect
stage
you
who
for
has.
that.
I
you
want
were
to address,
compromised.
Mr. I love the boogie woogie questions. Mr. Johnson, you want to say something?
Well, yeah, here we go. The truth teller. I'm sorry that you folks like lies and falsehoods. I'm sorry. You need to go talk to your preacher and pastor about that. You know, need to repent and whatever views you have in your head. I'm telling the truth, folks. I am telling the truth. And I've been doing it all my life. All of my life. And defending this man for all the things he's lied about over his 3 years in Congress is despicable. It's disgusting. But thank God we were able to collect 3,600 signatures in less than 6 weeks to get on the ballot. And I'll only mention one person's name. And they grabbed the clipboard and signed to get me on the ballot. So I don't know what the rest of the world's thinking. But this group here, some people in this group here, you guys got some warped minds, I'm telling you that right now. Sorry that I get on you and the folks, because you need to listen to the truth.
Okay.
I cannot believe it. You know what? When I went after bad contractors, I was threatened with my life across the table for telling the
Johnson.
truth. But in the end, the DOJ got him. And that's what's going to happen here, folks. By the way, we talked to
Mr.
some of the
Johnson,
people that
time.
he claims that he rescued in Israel. He
Mr. Tom-
he
Mr.
stuck
Johnson,
them with
please.
the $40,000 bill, the church in Atlanta, Georgia. They Baylor Bible brothers who came to one of your meetings, they were
Mr.
asked
Johnson,
to float up
please.
a bus that he got, and the rest of the hotel didn't want to come with him. But he got 45 minutes there.
Please.
45 people there.
Go ahead,
and got them out of the way and
Mills,
sent
you
them to
can
Saudi
respond to
Arabia.
that.
I can go on and on.
For all those who was actually
someday
active,
you guys will learn the
Going to
truth.
closing
So-
arguments.
for all those who are actually at the Volusia REC annual meeting, we actually brought a couple of people who actually were part of that rescue. People that we had rescued and pulled out who gave their own speech about what actually happened or didn't happen. There was people in the room who said, you pulled out one of my friends, one of my family members. You're going to tell me that 255 people who've written letters and who've given me plaques to say thank you for the rescue that they're all lying to, Mr.
You
Johnson.
gave him a bus ride, Mills.
Okay. Okay, listen.
Well, tell me where every other member was, because they weren't even offering bus rides. They were sitting inside on the House floor
There were tens
protecting
of thousands of
themselves.
people leaving Israel in and out from the stage
this,
over
this
there.
has been
Stop
great
lying.
tonight. Let's go into closing remarks. We're going to start with, oh, God. Mr. Johnson, let's start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I knew there was going to be a hostile crowd because I did not get any of my signatures from the Republican clubs, by the way. I got them from the veterans and the senior citizens and the other honest people in this county. You know, and like I said, we met lots of people that were very disappointed with the Republican Party because of people that they're standing behind. It doesn't matter how crooked or nasty or evil they are, they're going to stand by their man because he's supposedly a Republican. Well, this man here is this guy is not a Republican. He's not. When I get into Congress, the first thing I'm going to do is bring up Nancy Mace's resolution to get Ilhan Omar out of Congress. I don't care what any parliamentarian says. Because the rest of the Republicans, except for him, voted to get her out. And by the way, I have the source documentation of the original ethics complaints against you, Corey Mills. You did not refer yourself. It's full-fledged investigation going on before you pull the fast one on the last resolution. You worked out a deal with the Democrats. Yeah, you worked out a deal with the Democrats, and you know it, you did. Cesar, Nancy Mace, we all know about it, dude. You know what I'm saying? You can laugh all you want, but we know where you're going. People don't want you around. You need to resign.
Mr. Elijah.
So first I want to set the stage. We had a debate which Congressman Mills wouldn't come to because he said it was a rigged debate. We gave him everything he wanted here. You as the moderator, even sitting down, I suspect I know why, and other reasons, everybody in the crowd that he wanted. We came in that situation on his home turf. I want to make that clear. I want to make a couple other things. First of all, the DOJ is an active investigation. Watch that because it's going to let people down in this room. Beyond that, he also was not truthful with the President of the United States on the restraining order. Are you telling him you told him you had a restraining order?
When I talked to the President asked me, do I have anything that is open, any criminal or civil? And I said, absolutely not. And that was absolutely true to that point.
He's got a restraining order right here. He's got a restraining order.
Is that restraining order active in the last, let's just say, year or 2 years?
It's been active. You know
is it active in the last year or 2 years?
When you talk to the
President, the answer is no, and he doesn't want to answer that because the answer is no. And you can pull this from Columbia County's file. Please feel free.
I'll continue on, but it was worth doing that because he was not honest and lied to the President of the United States, who he claims he has his endorsement.
Are we on time?
I would say stay tuned on that. Beyond that, here's what I'd say. We have a member of Congress that is on the verge of getting kicked out of Congress, and that's what you need to understand. There is a reason we've had 20 endorsements in the last 2 weeks. Both sheriffs, multiple legislative officials, because they know he has lost the trust in this district. And you can nod, you can believe it if you want. He calls it lies if you're in denial. I'm telling you, there is a reason. We have never seen this running against an incumbent. So many people have endorsed someone. It's because they know what's coming. And I'm telling you, we're all conservatives here. But if you look the other way, we are going to get a huge surprise in November. It's not going to happen because August 18th we're going to win, and we're going to win because Congressman Mills, who I respect, has lost the trust of this district.
Mr. Your closing arguments.
We can all agree that President Trump, just like every others, have been accused and alleged. They try to say that he had actually been committing things that were horrific, like raping, things like that of Jean Carroll, which we know was a complete falsity. They said he had 71 federal indictments and accounts that was run by a sham judge named Judge Merchan. We've seen this before in how the fake news spins it. But the reality is this. Every allegation, every accusation, we can accuse people and allege anything, but one thing I've not been found of is guilty of anything. And that right there should serve itself. And we can talk about this anonymous DOJ source. Again, who finds it funny that if this supposed investigation has been going on for more than a year, only 4 weeks before the primary, one anonymous source goes to tell about it? Then Speaker Johnson doesn't even know about it and even says that openly. You had the director of the FBI who said that he's unaware of it. So the bottom line is that how is it that this one anonymous source knows more than the most powerful men on earth? That in itself should raise questions. When it comes to stolen valor, Go look at my OMPF file. Go look at my DD-214 from 2004, which shows my Bronze Star there, and then shows it again in 2024. Let's also go ahead and look at the fact that I lead the state in constituent services. $107 million has been brought back, more than anyone. We just got approval for federal government to pay the beach erosion study that hasn't been done in almost 20 years to protect our Volusia beaches, something that no one else has been able to do. And we actually have rescued 400 Americans out of Afghanistan, out of Israel. People can say what they want, but not a single person on this stage had the guts to go and to actually risk their lives to put themselves in the way of harm to try and save others. I've done it, and if you don't think that I wouldn't come for you, you're wrong, because I'll always come and save those who are in need, and that's what I've done for this district, and that's why I'm endorsed by the president. That's why I'm endorsed by a Medal of Honor recipient, Earl Plumley. I don't know that many people who've been endorsed by Medal of Honor recipients. I've been endorsed by Chairman Mast, who's a double amputee combat veteran and foreign affairs chairman. But again, I stand by one thing. 3 times I have been endorsed by President Donald J. Trump. He supports me, he trusts me, and I hope you will too. God bless you guys.
Ms. Ulrich, 2 minutes.
Forgive me for reading this. It's not my usual style, but I want to respect the event we're having tonight. America will not be defeated from the outside. If we fail, it will be from within. We will be destroyed by the devaluation of our currency, by the dismantling of our republic, by those greedy for power, and by the apathy of citizens. A nation cannot spend its way to prosperity or legislate into character. The political parties and too many elected officials have forgotten that they exist to serve us. It is time we remind them who they work for. Don't give up your voice, hoping the establishment and their chosen candidates will save us. They will try to silence outside voices and steer your vote. Look at the candidates they have supported. We are where we are because they have been choosing our representation. Republicans hold control over Washington, yet Americans are more divided, less trusting, and less at peace than we were years ago. Isn't it time we, the people, took back control? Lower prices come from more competition, not more government. We must end the reckless money printing that devalues our savings and drives up the cost of living. Congress should focus on making life more affordable for the American people, not lining their own pockets. I am not asking you to elect another politician. I am asking you to start a movement. A movement that reminds Washington that its power comes from the people, not the other way around. The establishment fears people they cannot control. They should. I owe no political machine. I owe no special interest. I owe no one. God brought me this far. Will you help send me the rest of the way? You don't have to accept the choices others make for you. This election is your chance to remind Washington that the people still have the final say. If you want something different, you must vote for someone different.
Thank you. That's it for tonight. But there's 2 little questions that came up to me. One I forgot. I think it's a good question, and the one that the audience came. Are you guys okay to answer a quick question? 2 more? Everyone okay with that? I know it's late. I'm dreaming of Chick-fil-A too on the way home. Okay. Real quick. Will the 3 of you that are whoever's left, whoever wins the election, will you all support that person moving forward? The primary election.
No.
Yes.
I expect that to be me, so yes.
No.
And then lastly, there's another big election in the state of Florida, governor. Who do you support?
There is no way I am answering that question.
I have endorsed Congressman Byron Donalds. He is the Trump endorsee. He is going to be our next governor, and I'm proud to continue to support him.
So I have said I'm not going to endorse in any of the races. Governor DeSantis is not endorsed, but I do have a final question for Corey. Last week, Byron Donalds was here.
So instead of actually saying who he's going to, this is the fake news again. He doesn't want to answer. So who will you support, Ryan? Who will you vote for governor, Ryan? Who will you vote for, Ryan, for governor?
I'm not endorsing him.
You don't have to endorse, but who are you voting for? The people want to know. Do you guys want to know who he's going to vote for governor? Exactly. But he runs away from that question, doesn't he?
Byron Donalds was 2 miles from his house. Corey Mills was not here. Do you know why?
Because
he's
I was at a
distraction.
fundraiser that was planned 2
really?
months ago.
He didn't
and
want
actually,
you here.
Marianne Pastelli knows that because I planned one 2 months ago.
He
He
didn't
planned
want
it
you
4
here.
days ago.
Oh,
But here's my thing.
he didn't want
See
you
how
here.
he plays the typical politician fake news
guys
where he's
asked.
already running away from it? He doesn't
not
want to
fake
support
news.
the Trump endorsees. That's why he ran against me. That's why he won't support Byron Donalds. He thinks he's going to lose him votes to support the president. Go ahead and ask him.
Why
who do
hasn't
you
Governor
support for
DeSantis
governor?
endorsed? Have you asked Governor DeSantis who's he's endorsing?
I'm not
That's all,
running against
folks.
Governor DeSantis. I'm running against you.
Well, then maybe you should support Byron
Hold on.
Donalds.
We have to, Mr. Johnson, your turn. Who do you support?
I actually support Mr. Renner, and the second would be Rachel Rodriguez, because Paul Renner actually helped us getting laws passed when we went up to Tallahassee. He's a great speaker, and he actually asked Corey Mills to resign.
I think the reason that he doesn't want to say who he supports is because Renner is actually the one who's endorsed him, which should tell you that he's not supporting Byron Donalds, which is why he won't tell everyone.
That's simply
I
not
support
true. But
Byron.
thanks for bringing up the
Then
former
who do
Speaker of the
you
House who's
vote? Who
endorsing
do you vote for
All right.
then?
Listen, again, everyone, thank you very much for attending and watching on stream. We appreciate it. I hope tonight was very informative and you can make a decision coming forward. Election is on the 18th. Early voting starts on Saturday, I believe, and ABs are in the wind. So thank you for coming. Thank you.
Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you. Take care. Bye. Nice meeting you, sir.
What's up? Young man.
Yes, sir.
Look, he's wearing navy blue pants and brown shoes.
Yes.
See, back in our day, that was not cool.